You've stood there more times than you'd admit. At the edge of the yard, coffee is going cold in your hand. Halfway through the morning walk, the leash looped around your wrist. Watching, a little worried, not even sure you're allowed to feel this unsure about something this small. And then they do it again. Head down. Teeth in the grass. That slow, deliberate chewing, like they have all the time in the world. Here's the part no one tells you. The real reason your dog does this is so ordinary that most owners walk straight past it. And in walking past it, they miss the one moment grass eating is actually trying to tell them something. And nobody ever handed you the study. They're sick and need to vomit story gets repeated in every dog group, every comment section, every time someone's pup throws up on the lawn. So, of course, you believed it. Of course, you worried. That's not your problem. That's an information gap. And over the next few minutes, we're going to close it together. There's one point in here. The fourth one. It quietly changes what you do the very next time they put their head down in the grass. So stay with me for that one. Let's start with the story you've probably believed the longest. The sick stomach story. It goes like this. Your dog's stomach is upset, so they go out and eat grass to make themselves throw up and feel better. You've heard it 100 times. So mid-walk, when their head dips and their teeth tear at a green blade, you freeze. You scan the sidewalk. You brace for the moment it all comes back up, already wondering if today's the day something is really wrong. Here's what the research actually says. That upset stomach explanation is the one that science doesn't support. Think about what that means for a second. Think about the low-grade dread you've carried on 100 ordinary walks. The quiet bracing every single time they reach for the lawn. Maybe even the vet visit that turned up nothing. The one where you sat in the waiting room, certain something was wrong, and walked back out with a shrug and a bill. The worry was real. The danger, mostly, was not. In 2008, researchers at UC Davis ran a survey of more than 1,500 dogs who ate grass. And what they found quietly turned the whole story on its head. Only a small share of those dogs looked sick before they grazed, and most of them did not vomit afterward. A later look at hundreds of grazing sessions counted throwing up in only a handful. Healthy dogs, eating grass, going right back to their day. That was the pattern, over and over. So vomiting wasn't the rule. It was the rare exception. So here's what that gives you tonight. Before you assume your dog is sick, look for the things that actually signal illness. The heavy lethargy, the drooling, the hunched, uncomfortable belly, the turning away from food. And when none of that is there, that absence is the normal one. Watch how they act in the hour afterward. If they're bright, bouncy, nosing around for dinner, that is a dog who is just fine. Not the grass. The grass is just grass. You're allowed to exhale. Okay, if it's not a sick stomach, then maybe it's the food. That's the second story, and it's a sneaky one. Because this time, the finger points right back at you. The deficiency myth. The idea that your dog grazes because something is missing from their diet. A vitamin, a mineral, some quiet nutritional hole their body is out there in the yard trying to fill. So you do what any good owner does. You upgrade the food to the bag with the longer ingredient list. You add the supplement. You switch brands once, then twice, standing in the pet aisle, reading every label like it's a test you might be failing. And after all of it, they still drift to the lawn. They still graze. Here's what's actually happening. It was never a hole in their diet that they were patching. And I want you to sit with the cost of that for a moment, because it's a quiet, invisible one. The money spent chasing a problem that was never there. The second guessing at every single meal. That low hum of, am I even feeding them right, that follows you around the kitchen while you scoop their dinner. The quiet little apology you make to them in your head, as if a green stain on their muzzle were proof you'd let them down. All of it poured into fixing a deficiency that was never the answer. The same UC Davis work tested this idea head-on. They looked at whether richer diets, whether added supplements, actually made the grass eating stop. They didn't. Dogs on better food grazed just the same as everyone else. In other words, you could pour the finest food in the world into that bowl, and a dog who likes grass would still go and find some. This is not a nutrition gap your dog is desperately trying to close. If anything, the little bit of fiber may simply help things move along a bit easier, a small, ordinary bonus, not a cry for help. So here is the shift, and it's a kind one. Stop auditing yourself at every blade of grass. A dog who grazes is not a dog whose bowl is failing them. Your dog grazing on a spring afternoon is not a review of your care. Let that one go. Now, before we keep going, if you're learning something new about your dog right now, take a second and hit like and subscribe. That's how we get these videos in front of more dog owners who want to love their dogs the right way. And then let's get to the part most people miss completely. Here's where it gets a little uncomfortable. Because this next story isn't about what your dog is doing at all. It's about what we do back. The leash tug. The sharp leave-it. The way we haul them up off the grass every single time, like it's a bad habit we have to break before it sets in. Picture it. You're on the walk. They lower their head toward a soft, green patch on the verge, and your hand tightens on the leash before you've even finished the thought. Off. Away. Not that. Come on. But here's what most people don't realize. In that exact moment, you might be interrupting one of the most natural things your dog has ever done. Think about how we'd treat this in a child. A kid crouches down on the sidewalk to study a beetle, completely absorbed, turning a leaf over in their fingers. And we don't scold them for being curious. We understand they're meeting the world the only way they know how. We call it exploring in a toddler. We call it being naughty in a dog. Same curiosity. Two very different verdicts. And yet, with our dogs, we take that same old instinct and we quietly file it under misbehavior. Small daily friction. A tug, a no, a little knot of tension between the two of you. Over nothing. And this is the part that science quietly backs up. Grazing isn't a disorder. It isn't a glitch in the system. It shows up across wild canids, wolves, coyotes, the whole family tree, as plain, ordinary foraging. Eating grass and plants is something dogs and their relatives have been doing for a very, very long time, long before they ever curled up on our floors. It's woven so deeply that puppies will do it before anyone has ever taught them anything at all. So when your dog noses down into the lawn, they aren't malfunctioning. They're doing a very old thing. They're being a dog. So here's the reframe, and it's a gentle one. Where the grass is safe, no pesticides, no lawn chemicals, nothing toxic growing in it. You can let it be. You do not have to win every single blade of grass. Save your leave-it for the things that genuinely matter. The chicken bone on the curb, the road, the stranger's dropped sandwich. Pick your battles for the things that can truly hurt them and let the harmless green stuff go. Letting your dog graze a little isn't letting them get away with something. It's just letting them be exactly what they are. And that brings us to the fourth point, the one I told you to stay for. Because once you clear away the sick stomach story and the deficiency story and the bad habit story, you're left with the real reason. And it's smaller and stranger and a whole lot more tender than you expected. So here's the real reason, the one most owners miss. For your dog, the grass was almost never about being sick. It was instinct, and on the days it wasn't, it was a quiet ask for more of you. Let me explain. For most dogs, most of the time, this is the entire answer. The taste of it, the texture, the cool, green, springy pull of a fresh blade between their teeth. Some dogs even have their favorites, the tall stuff by the fence, the tender new growth after a morning of rain. Ordinary foraging. That's it. That's the great mystery. Solved. And it turns out to be gentler than every story you'd ever been told about it. But here's what gets missed underneath all that medical worry. Sometimes the grazing changes. It spikes. It goes frantic, repetitive, far past their usual. Your dog working a patch of lawn over and over like there's something just out of reach. And when that happens, it's often not about their stomach at all. It can be a behavioral signal. Boredom, understimulation, a day that simply didn't have enough in it. Enough walking, enough sniffing, enough you. Now, that reading isn't settled science. It's a leading idea, the best guess we have right now, not a proven fact. So hold it loosely. But do hold it, because it is the question worth asking. Think about what gets lost when we miss it. All those years spent asking, is grass bad for them? While the actual message, I'm bored, I'm understimulated, I need more from this day, goes completely unheard. It's the difference between treating a behavior and answering a need. Picture these for a second. You're on the couch, phone in your hand, leash gone, slack on the floor, and they drift over to the edge of the lawn and start tearing at it. And you glance up and say, "Hang on, are you bored, buddy?" Or the walk got cut short because your meeting ran long, and that evening they're going to the backyard hard, and a neighbor calls over the fence. "Is your dog okay?" And it finally lands on you that it was the walk that was missing, not something in the grass. Or your kid looks up from the floor and asks, "Why is he eating grass again?" And for the very first time, you don't say his tummy hurts. You say, "I think he just wants to get out for a while." That's the shift. The 2008 research ruled out illness and ruled out diet as the main drivers. What's left points back to something simple: normal behavior plus the shape of their day. So the next time the grazing spikes, don't go checking their gut. Check their day. Did they get the walk, the sniffing, the you? Fill the day. And the grass, more often than not, goes quiet all on its own. So let's pull it all together. Because for years, the question you kept asking was, is grass bad for my dog? And I want to tell you, as gently as I can, that was the wrong question all along. The question was never how to stop the grass. It was how I read the moment. The grass was never the problem to be solved. It was information, sitting right there in front of you, that no one ever taught you how to listen to. And here's the part I really want you to hear tonight. All that worry you've carried, the bracing on every walk, the long stares down the supplement aisle, the leash tugs, none of that made you a bad owner. That was love. Love pointed just slightly off target, aimed at a danger that mostly wasn't even there. Your care was always right. It just needed better information to land on. You were never the problem. You were only ever missing one piece of the picture, and now you have it. So let's leave you with one simple frame to carry. Safe grass, a normal mood, a dog who seems like themselves. Let it be. They're foraging. They're being a dog. There is nothing here to fix. Most days, that first one is the whole story. Safe grass, a happy dog, and nothing to do but let them be. A sudden spike, frantic and out of character. Look at their day, not their stomach. Ask what's missing and go fill it. And the rare time something genuinely seems wrong, real lethargy, real distress, something deep in your gut that doesn't sit right, that's the moment for your vet. Not a video, not a forum thread, a professional who can actually put their hands on your dog. You know your dog better than anyone. That's the line, and it's a clear one. But the everyday grazing, that head dipping into the lawn on an ordinary afternoon, you can finally stop bracing for that one. The bracing can stop now. The watching, the good kind, the curious kind, can begin. You are not the owner who got it wrong all these years. You're the owner who finally gets to relax. So let me ask you something. Which of these are you going to stop worrying about first? The sick stomach story, the food, or the leash tug? Tell me down in the comments, and tell me your dog's name while you're at it. I read them. Because the next time they graze, you're going to be watching their day instead of their stomach. And that's the whole shift, right there. All this time, you thought the grass was a problem to solve. Maybe it was just your dog being a dog. And, some days, quietly asking you to notice.